Hey everyone, today we are going to be watching video number 2, which is going to be talking about your energy in the ecosystems. And for this video, we're going to be talking about producers and consumers and some specific types of consumers, as well as trophic levels, food chain, and food web. So let's get started. So you probably have heard since younger biology classes in middle school about producers and consumers. So your producer is going to be usually your plant that's going through photosynthesis and they're making their own food. As you can see, it's also known as autotrophs. An easy way to remember that is auto is like self, so they're making their own foods. So over on your right, you can see your sunflower. And the other part we're going to be talking about are consumers. So consumers, also known as heterotrophs, they're going to be eating living or once living organisms to get their energy as well. So over on the right you can see the lion. It's a good example of a consumer. So one type of consumer is going to be your herbivore. And your herbivore is going to be an organism that only eats plants. And so you have your rabbit down below, and you also have your giraffe, both eating grass with your rabbit and leaves if you're the giraffe. And herbivores are actually, over time, their teeth have become better for grinding. So if you look at the teeth of a giraffe or a rabbit or any other type of herbivore, they're going to be better for grinding up the vegetation or the foliage that they're eating. So your carnivore, on the other hand, is going to be an organism that eats other animals or other living organisms. And so they're going to be eating animal tissue, which is why if you look at the shark in the tiger picture, you can see they have sharper teeth. And they're going to use these teeth so that they're able to rip the human tissue off the bone, and they're able to eat it in that way. So next you have your consumer that is an omnivore. And an omnivore is going to be eating both plants and animals. Humans have the teeth of omnivores as well. If you look at your front teeth, they're usually a little sharper. They'll be able to tear apart different kind of meats. If you've had a steak, you're gonna use your teeth to rip the steak apart, so you're able to eat it better. And you're also gonna have your back teeth, which are better for grinding up your vegetables. So if you have a salad, if you're eating it, you'll notice, if you think about it, that you're putting the salad into the back of your teeth and not using your front teeth to really chew that up. So that's a good example of an omnivore, is the human. So another type of consumer is going to be your detrivore, and this is going to be an organism that eats dead organic matter. And so dead organic matter is going to be any type of plant or animal that has died, and their decaying body is going to be dead organic matter. And so one that you probably are all really used to hearing are decomposers. So your decomposer is going to be a detrivore that it breaks down organic matter into simple compounds. And so it's important to know that your detrivores, your decomposers, they really help the cycle of the energy. So the energy in an ecosystem is one giant cycle. So you're going to have your producer make some food, you'll have your plant make it, your plant will get eaten, that animal will get eaten, that animal will get eaten, that animal will get eaten. And finally, the top animal will die. And when it dies, when it decays, your decomposers are going to eat that dead organic material and turn it back into nutrients and other parts in the soil that the producers can help use to make more food. So it's one giant cycle of continuous energy being put into the ecosystems. So you have your food chain and trophic levels. And your food chain is going to be a simple feeding relationship between plants and animals. So if you can see this one, you have your grass, which is going to be eaten by the grasshopper, which is going to be eaten by the frog, which is eaten by the snake, which is eaten by the eagle. So that's an easy example of food chain. And one thing that's really interesting and is important to know is that when you go between different levels, you're only getting about 10% of the energy from the previous level. So by the time that the eagle is getting its food, it's only getting 0.0001% of the original energy that the grass had. So the eagle is going to have to eat a lot of food in order to keep up its energy, because it's a bigger animal than, say, the grasshopper. And so I found that really interesting, that you lose so much energy between levels. And that goes right into the trophic levels, which are the levels of nourishment in the food chain. And so that's going to be shown on your right. And it shows at the very, very bottom your decomposers and the soils. But we're going to start on the green level, the primary producers. So these are going to be your animals that are, or these are going to be your plants that are going to be making their own food through photosynthesis. And so the next level up are going to be herbivores, and they're going to be primary consumers because they're the first. So they're the primary consumers that are going to be eating your producers. And so the next level up, you'll see secondary consumers, because they're the second level of either herbivore, omnivore, carnivore that is going to be eating another consumer. And so your last level is your top carnivores, or your tertiary consumers. And those are going to be the top predators in the ecosystem. And so as you were saying before, if you have 1,000 energy in the green level, the primary producers, you're only going to have 100 at the primary consumers, the herbivores. You go up to the next level, you're only going to have 10 for your secondary consumers. And once you get to the top carnivores, you're only going to have 1. So you can see how the energy quickly goes down over time. And again, like I was saying before, once this fox, we'll say at the top it's a fox, once it dies, it's going to go back down to the bottom where the decomposers will decompose the organic material, which will be used by the plants to grow some more. So again, it's a complete cycle over and over again. So there's one last thing we're going to talk about that goes with the food chain, and it's called a food web. And so the food chain, as you saw, was a simple line of what eat what's. But that's not exactly how it works. It's more complex than that, and that's what a food web tries to show. So as you can see, you do have your different levels, your producers, primary consumers, secondary consumers, tertiary consumers, and this one goes to quaternary consumers. And in this one, you can see there's a bunch of different food chains that you could follow, but together they make the food web. And so in a food web, you can actually have an animal that's in multiple different levels. So if you look at the duck on the tertiary consumers, the second row, the duck is not only eating the fish, which is in the secondary consumer, but the duck is also eating the snail, which is a primary consumer. So technically, if the duck's eating the snail, the duck is going to be a secondary consumer as well. So as you can see, the food web is definitely more complex than the food chain, but it helps you figure out what animals are doing what in order for the energy in an ecosystem to work. So that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, if you didn't understand something, you can watch it again. Or if you have questions, find me in class, or please post it into the Google Classroom. And if you're another student who either knows the answer or has the same question, please comment on the post. Thank you.